Welcome. My name is Nicole Costeres, and I'm here to inspire a space of living from your soul. I'm here to inspire a space where we can be deeply rooted into the earth, into our primal nature, into our animal, into our rawness, our sexuality, as well as multidimensionally opened into a place of clarity, trusting our intuition, opening into our psychic abilities, connecting with different realms, so that we can bring those two openings into a union in our heart and live from our soul. Now, from this deep calling that I'm feeling, these soul transmissions birthed themselves. And for the past 3 weeks, you've been following maybe the conversations between me and Sia Huheka around birthing your soul into a new earth, where we were sharing in 3 parts around these times of big change that are happening on the planet right now and the soul that wants to emerge. I feel I want to continue these soul transmissions and share with you each Sunday about a different topic that's alive in our collective right now. And so this Sunday, I would love to touch upon conscious anger, because I know that many of us have been feeling waves of strong anger, either from within ourselves or from sensing it in our collective. Because there are things that our governments are setting up right now that our soul does not resonate with. And it can cause this rebellious energy, this warrior that wants to stand up and do something about it, combined with a feeling of not knowing how to channel this force in a constructive way instead of a destructive way. I feel we are in a place in time where we realize that violence is not the way to make a change. And so today I want to touch up ways of how we can channel this force in a conscious way, this force of anger. So in that, I want to start with naming that for me, conscious anger is not like a subtle suppression and making something beautiful about it, because this is something that I can see also in the conscious community, that we spiritualize anger and we kind of cover it up in a beautiful jacket. So this is not what I speak about when I speak about conscious anger. What I do speak about when I speak about conscious anger is learning to channel this immense, raw, volcanic force in an upward motion instead of leaking and spitting it out to the ones around us or even to situations around us. When I look back into my life, I can see that as a teenager, even into my early 20s, that I didn't know how to be with this force inside of me. And that would express itself in, for example, love relationships where there was a lot of spitting of anger, where in the spitting of anger was also a massive suppression of this force. And what happens when we suppress this force very strongly inside of ourselves, it starts to try and find a way out, which usually comes out in a toxic way, where we spit and leak our anger onto others. So yeah, I feel 2 directions here. First of all, I feel curious if you recognize this leaking and spitting of anger, if you recognize a challenge of not knowing how to be in this force constructively. So first of all, I feel curious about that. And let's see which direction I want to go in first. Yeah, what I feel when we are in a place of spitting and leaking our anger, or when our anger can bring us in a place of despair, I feel that what is actually an invitation is to find a deeper place of core confidence and firmness inside, when I look at myself in the times where I was a lot in this leaking anger, and still I'm in a process of really being with this power, there was also an armor that I was carrying. So I could also use the anger as a way of protecting and armoring myself. And with that, I can recognize the archetype of an armed warrior. So it's like a force that wants to go to battle, that wants to fight, but also wants to protect a very vulnerable place inside, right? So I can recognize that in this archetype of the armed warrior, there is an inability to really communicate boundaries, to really embody a natural boundary. And so there is this like leaking and fighting and armor necessary for you to, or for us to take our space, right? So in moments where I find myself in an armed warrior, where I find myself in spitting anger, it's a really beautiful moment to stop and ask myself the question, where am I not clearly communicating or embodying my boundary? Yeah. Where am I not clearly communicating or embodying my boundary? And where am I not clearly taking my space in what resonates for me in this moment? Or where am I not clearly taking my space in what I actually need in this moment? Yeah. So here we can start to move slowly in a shift from anger taking us over to zooming out and seeing what we are actually doing. To stop and zooming out and start to ask ourselves these questions about the anger that is happening in us that moment. And so there's a memory coming up where I was intensely practicing with learning to channel my anger in a more conscious way. And one example that comes up is in the relationship with my partner, with Nemanja, where I was transforming this habit of leaking anger out towards him, towards channeling that force more upwards. And so I remember this one specific moment where we were going into a discussion, and where I said, okay, I want to stop right now. Can you help me with channeling this force in a different way, right? And what I asked him to do is to stand right in front of me, put my hands against his hand, and I was like really starting to bring that anger into the hands, into the movement, into my breath, into the pushing, and so I could find a way to release that anger and not spit it out onto him. So another example that is coming up right now is moments where I am getting a pillow and really releasing and opening into that force, so I can move through my body and so I can learn to find a different channel than leaking it out. Yeah. Yeah. So as I'm saying this, I want to also speak on releasing anger. As I also see around me, there's lots of courses and modules where you go into a releasing of anger. And I feel that in order to come to a place where we really open up into anger as a force, there's also an invitation to shift perspective on what is actually needed in that, right? So I feel that it can be supportive to really release anger and to learn how to bring that energy into emotion in a different direction. And it's also a force that can never be released. It's not a force that we can get rid of. I feel the deeper purpose of anger is a force, is an invitation to open deeper into. Because when we learn to open deeper into this force of anger, it's actually what gives us a firmness, what gives us a core confidence and a rootedness that enables us to be in our space and to stand what we believe in, to stand for what we believe in. Yeah. So I feel I want to take you with me a bit more on what it feels like, what it looks like when we really open into this force, into this inner core confidence, into this firmness inside. And so one being that has been with me very much in modeling that is Martin Luther King. So Martin Luther King was seeing a reality in life that he did not agree with. And I imagine that he has felt a lot of anger around this also, about the inequality of race. And he could have chosen to go into violence and to fight this reality. And instead, he was modeling an unarmed warrior. He found a way to open into his anger, into this force, by really firming himself into a reality that he believed in, right? He was sharing his dream with the world, and through his firmness and core confidence and clarity, through his rootedness, he was able to make a change unarmed. He was so rooted and so clear in what he was standing for that naturally emanated into the world. And so I feel here we can start to touch upon how to be with this force inside. I feel the more we open into anger as a power, as a volcanic power, even as I speak, I can feel it like, whoa. Oh. The more we can stand into this force firmly, the more we can open into the power that we are. And the less you will start to experience this force as anger, but the more you will start to experience this force as the volcanic life force that just wants to burst through you. So I feel one power that really can be of support in opening into our anger as a power is through forgiveness. So I've been feeling also a lot of anger this week around alternative news that has been flooding our social media, like hidden agendas, hidden structures of governments and governments behind governments that are really rising to the surface. That I was even reading this post, like even your average Joe is now seeing like something is not right here, right? So there in me, it created this anger of, where I feel tendency to start to fight. And this is also the reason why I want to share this transmission with you today. So if this is something that you're recognizing and something that you're in right now, to explore, like, am I in a fighting with my force, or am I really landing myself in an inner firmness and a core confidence of what I stand for and believe in for this new earth that wants to emerge? So what helped me a lot is also to bring forgiveness to the situation as it is right now, without letting go of what I believe and stand for. And here we can really open into our unarmed warrior. Here we can face this world with an open heart and a clarity of what we believe in, right? And I feel like one of my biggest teachers in this was this year when I was in the jungle, in the Amazonian jungle, spending 1 month with the Yawanawa people in Brazil. And the Yawanawa people have been through so much. Their history is very intense. Like in the 80s, there were only around 150 or 200 left of them. And all of them have been either murdered, have been taken away, have been suppressed into slavery for the rubber industry. Even further back in history, they've been tribes amongst each other, have been in war and killing each other. And so there is a lot of pain, and there was a lot of anger and hatred. And as I was in the diet, studying their traditions, the shaman was telling me how they were able to find a place of forgiveness, how they were able to even come to a place of gratitude of all that was happening, because it also brought them to a place of peace. It also brought them to a place of having their own land and finding back their traditions, of finding peace amongst the tribes, of including Western tradition, Western people into their medicine and into their traditions and gifts. And I feel the Yawanawa people are, for me, one of the biggest examples of really embodying of inner firmness, a core confidence, an unarmed warrior. They are, for me, one of the biggest examples of embodying the unarmed warrior and really embodying that inner firmness. And so I took with me from the jungle this power of forgiveness in an even deeper way. A power of forgiveness that allows our armor to drop, and allows us to open deeper into this force, this volcanic life force inside. Yeah. So I feel that this transmission is a permission for you to really embrace that force inside, to know that your anger is your power, finding a new way to be channeled. Yeah, to know that your anger is your power, longing for a new way to be channeled inside of you. And I feel that this invitation of finding a new way to channel this force inside is what can bring our world into a new reality. Our world will not bring itself into a new reality by fighting and going to battle. Our world will find a new reality by finding an inner firmness in what we stand for and believe in, with an open heart and forgiveness. Yeah. So, saying that, I want to also speak a little bit on rebellion, because it doesn't mean that we will now have to sit back and watch and do nothing, right? But actually what comes available when we open into this firmness inside is a responding to life instead of a reacting to life. When we are in a place of spitting and leaking our anger, we are in a place of reacting to life, reacting to people. Like there is this like reacting to something. Whereas when we open in our anger as a power, as an inner force, as an inner confidence and clarity and firmness, we can open into a place of responding to life, where still it might ask of us to speak to something, where still it might ask of us to act towards something. But it doesn't come from a place of violence. It comes from a place of responding to life force. Yeah. I feel curious how this so far is landing for you. I feel curious if there are any questions rising up. I feel curious what you're feeling in your body right now. Yeah. So one more time, I strongly believe in the intelligence that moves through us in each moment. And so that means that if there is anger inside of you, and if you checked and transmuted that into a place of inner firmness, of inner clarity and standing for what you believe in, then if it asks for you to speak up and make that post that communicates a different message, or speak to that person that needs to hear a different message, then that's totally legit, right? I totally trust that movement. I feel this transmission is to shift the perspective on what anger is inside of us and what the purpose and force can be for the rising of our new earth. Yeah. And with that, I also feel quite complete. I feel I want to check if I touched up on all the topics that I wanted to touch up on. Yeah. So I want to invite you, as we do in all transmissions, to go into the integration meditation. And before we do that, I invite you to really feel what your body needs right now. As you've been sitting already for about half an hour and about 20 minutes, and really feeling what your body needs right now. Just taking a moment, how it feels in your body after absorbing all these words. And also, again, releasing all the words that have been spoken. Really trust that your being will absorb whatever it needs to absorb. Yeah. Really taking a breath with whatever is alive inside of you right now. Really good. Feeling if your body needs some movement, some stretching. Feeling if your eyes want to be open or closed. And bringing your awareness more from outside to inside of your body. Beautiful. And just checking in how you've been moving with your anger. Just allowing maybe to come forward moments where you've been spitting or leaking your anger, or moments where you've been feeling despair or frustration and not knowing how to move this anger, how to move this force and how to be with this force. And then I invite you to bring your awareness into your pelvis. Into this center that holds this immense power, this immense force. And taking a moment also to reframe anger into power. This power that sits in the core, at the bottom, at the base of your being, ready to be allowed and to be channeled in a new direction, into a new way, ready to be opened into as an inner firmness and a core confidence. Beautiful. Yeah. And just following your breath, following your body and however it wants to move to meet that deeper. Even if anger is not present in this moment, just starting to move your pelvis and your body to bring more awareness into your core, into your base. Really good. Taking a moment to welcome this force, because if we welcome this force, it can shift into a place of feeling anger instead of being angry. Allowing to welcome this force and shift into a place of feeling anger, feeling this force instead of being angry and leaking it out. And with that, opening into a place of responding to life, allowing life force to do the work, allowing life force to move you in your words and actions instead of you needing to react. Beautiful. Yes. And with that, I want to make an intention and a prayer for this force inside of you. May it be fully welcomed and embraced in your being, and may you open into all the rawness and volcanic life force and the volcanic power that it holds. And may you be guided in the words and the action that is needed through your being. Whether that is being in a community and singing at the fire in a very peaceful way, or whether that is stand up and speak your voice, whether that is stand up and show your message with an open heart, unarmed, ready to be this warrior of the divine. Whether that is sitting in your room meditating, connecting to peaceful energies, or whether that is opening into a rawness, or a blend of both. And really trusting whatever wants to move through you. And taking a deep breath in and out. And staying with whatever is alive inside of you right now and opening your eyes. Thank you so much. And feel free to share what this transmission has been touching inside of you. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm very available. And I wish you a beautiful day or evening wherever you are in the world right now. Bye.